So imagine this. You're on this deep spiritual journey. You've been reading, contemplating, doing the work, and then, bam, it clicks. Your mind is just completely 100% convinced that your true self is this pure, silent consciousness, something way beyond the everyday ego. The intellectual search, it feels over. But then the next morning comes, and here's the question that just keeps nagging at you. If your mind knows this incredible truth, if all the arguments are settled, then why doesn't your heart feel free? Why do the same old things still get to you? And this is the disconnect, right? It's this crazy whiplash. On one hand, you've had this sublime moment, this incredible clarity up on the summit. But then there's the reality of the next day. You're still getting annoyed by that same person. You're still getting hooked by the same old emotions. And that profound realization, it's already starting to feel like a distant memory. Well, there's actually a name for this experience. It's called the seeker's paradox. And it's that feeling, that really frustrating feeling of having the map standing right there at the gate to freedom, but the gate just seems to be slammed shut. You know where you want to go, but you just can't get in. But here's the thing, and this is so important to get. This feeling of being stuck, it's not a sign that you failed. It's not the end of the road. In fact, this is the true, authentic beginning of the real work. So why does this happen? What is this gap all about? It really comes down to this core issue of knowing something versus actually being it. You can think of it like this. Your mind has had this massive upgrade, right? But the deep underlying operating system, it's still running old buggy software. And what is that old software? Well, in many traditions, they call them samskaras. Now, these aren't just thoughts that you can reason your way out of. Oh, no. They are deep, energetic grooves, your fears, your attachments, your automatic reactions, and they're lodged deep in your body and your subconscious. They're reflexes, not choices. So, trying to use your new intellectual understanding to fix these deep patterns, well, it's a bit like trying to buff out a scratch on a window by describing in perfect, beautiful detail what clean, unscratched glass is supposed to look like. It just doesn't work. The description doesn't change the scratch. Okay, so if gathering more knowledge isn't the answer, then what is? This is where the whole journey pivots. The path forward from here isn't about building up more concepts, more ideas. It's a path of undoing. It's about dissolving those invisible bars that are holding the gate shut. So how in the world do we do that? How do we undo? Well, there is a clear, integrated path to turn that head knowledge into a lived, felt reality. And it really comes down to 3 essential keys to unlock that gate. All right, here they are. First, indulge less. This is all about putting the ego on a serious diet. Second, immerse yourself in wisdom, but, and this is key, for remembrance, not for learning more stuff. And third, immerse yourself in devotion. This is about using the path of the heart to dissolve that tight knot of I. Let's dig into that first one a bit. Indulging less really just means starving the ego of its favorite foods. And what does the ego love to eat? External validation, drama, endless distractions. When you start reducing unnecessary action, unnecessary speech, you stop feeding it, and you create this inner quiet where the real work can finally begin. Now, the second key is this idea of immersion in wisdom. This is a subtle but absolutely critical shift. You're not reading these texts to learn something new anymore. You already know it, remember? This is about absorption. It's about soaking in it. You're using these timeless truths to constantly realign your energy, to retune your whole vibration back to what you know is true. And finally, we get to the third key, devotion. Honestly, this is the secret weapon that opens that final door. You see, the ego is basically this tight, contracted little knot of I, me, and mine. And pure logic can't untie that knot. But devotion, whether it's to a teacher, to God, or just to truth itself, is the ultimate solvent. It just melts the knot away. So what happens when you actually commit to this path? When you start putting these 3 keys into practice? What does it feel like when that tight, clenched grip of the ego finally starts to loosen? Well, the outcome is subtle. This isn't some big, dramatic explosion of light. It's a slow, almost imperceptible loosening. It's a gradual softening. And that's why persistence is everything. You just have to stay with the process, trusting that this deep, unseen work is happening, even if you can't measure it day by day. And the goal, the destination of this whole journey, has a name: Jivan Mukti. It means liberation, but not in some faraway heaven. It means liberation right here, right now, in this life. It's not about becoming some new, better person. It's about finally revealing your true nature, which has been there all along, just unobscured by all that old software. And this brings us to the final, most powerful insight of all. That gate you've been struggling with, the one you thought was locked, it was never really locked at all. The whole time, it was just being held shut from the inside. These 3 keys aren't for picking some external lock. They are for helping you to finally let go of your own grip